Good evening and welcome to the second of three Connect 2050 stakeholder webinars. Thank you for joining us. Please note that this webinar is being recorded. The format of this webinar will be a 15-minute presentation followed by a question and answer session. At any point, if you'd like to ask a question, enter it into the YouTube chat box or submit it by email to connect2050@dot.wi.gov. My name is Alex Gramavot. I'm an urban regional planner for WisDOT and the project manager for Connect 2050. Next, we have Sean DeStramp. Sean, if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Hello, everyone. My name is Sean DeStramp. I am the Freight Program Officer at WisDOT.
Thanks, Sean. We have Jennifer Murray.
Good evening. I'm Jennifer Murray. I'm the statewide planning chief at WisDOT Central Office.
Thanks, Jen. We have Chuck Wade.
Good afternoon. I'm Chuck Wade. I'm the Director of Planning for the Bureau of Planning and Economic Development.
Thanks, Chuck. And last but not least, we have Julie Joshua, our interpreter for this evening. We'll now begin the webinar presentation. We encourage you to submit questions or comments at any time during or after the presentation through the YouTube chat box or by email.
Hello, and thank you for watching. The Wisconsin
Thank you.
Or WisDOT, is updating its statewide long-range transportation plan called Connect 2050. This presentation will give you an overview of what the plan is and the timeline for updating the plan. It will also go over the plan's vision and goals and provide information about our state's transportation system and emerging trends. In addition, we will discuss how WisDOT plans for the future of transportation in Wisconsin. At the end of the presentation, we will explain how you can provide input and participate in the planning process. Let's talk about agenda item number 1. What is Connect 2050? We plan for our transportation system because transportation affects the quality of our daily lives. It provides access to jobs, education, and healthcare, and supports the people, place, and prosperity of Wisconsin. Connect 2050 is a policy-based plan that will guide WisDOT's decision-making about changes and investments to our transportation system over the next 30 years. Policies in Connect 2050 are the very first step in the transportation planning project delivery process. The policies in the plan identify what WisDOT would like to accomplish. Other WisDOT efforts will identify how and when they will be accomplished through specific projects or improvements to our transportation system. Connect 2050 is a statewide plan, meaning it will guide decision-making for the entire state of Wisconsin, from our dense urban centers to our sparsely populated rural areas. The plan also is long-range, meaning it looks ahead to the future, in this case 30 years. 2050 may seem like a long way off, but in the world of transportation, it is not. An average DOT project can take anywhere from 3 to 15 years from the time it is identified to when the project is funded and implemented. Looking out 30 years gives WisDOT the ability to comprehensively manage the entire transportation system over the long term, rather than taking a piecemeal approach. Furthermore, the plan is multimodal, meaning it will consider the needs of the whole transportation system, including roads, ports, rails, transit, airports, and bike and pedestrian modes. Connect 2050 is our answer to these questions. What do you want our transportation system to look like in 2050? What should we do between now and then to get there? Our journey is just beginning. WisDOT will be developing the Connect 2050 plan in 4 phases through 2021. Throughout development, we will continue to offer webinars and virtual meetings, and we will accept comments and survey submissions through the release of the final plan. If possible, we will hold in-person meetings in 2021. During the pre-draft phase, which is the current planning phase, WisDOT will assess the state of the transportation system and obtain public feedback on future transportation priorities and trends. In the draft plan phase, WisDOT will update the plan vision, goals and policies, and prepare the draft plan. During this time, WisDOT will conduct more outreach and offer a 30-day public comment period. We will also coordinate with tribes, metropolitan planning organizations and regional planning commissions, and consider recommended policies from WisDOT system, modal, corridor, and/or project plans. WisDOT will review and consider all input and update the plan with your feedback in mind. During the final plan phase, WisDOT will release the final Connect 2050 plan that will be used by WisDOT and other agencies to help guide the coordinated development of our transportation system at the state, regional, and local levels. Now let's talk about agenda item number 2. What is the vision of Connect 2050, and what goals are being considered in its creation? The vision and goals are the backbone of Connect 2050. The vision is the overarching statement that identifies what we would like the transportation system to be and do for us. The vision statement means that WisDOT wants an integrated transportation system that works and provides mobility and options for all of us, facilitates economic productivity, improves quality of life, all while minimizing impacts to the natural environment. Connect 2050 has 5 main goals, which will identify the themes that the policies in the plan fall under: economic vitality, safety and security, quality of life and natural environment, system integration and connectivity, and system management. Economic vitality means to maintain and improve the state's transportation system so it is responsive to global and regional economic needs and changing conditions. Promoting an economically healthy transportation network means making investment to all modes. Some examples of how WisDOT supports economic vitality include implementing freeway reconstruction and highway improvement projects, managing the Harbor Assistance Program to improve our state's shipping, port, and waterway resources, and hosting the Freight Advisory Committee, assisting with airport improvement projects, and investing in passenger rail, intercity bus, and transit services. Safety and security means to create a system that is safe for all users and agile in preventing, preparing for, and coordinating responses to any incident, whether natural or the result of human activity. Creating and managing a transportation system that is safe for all users is possibly the single most important undertaking of a state Department of Transportation, so WisDOT works continually to improve your safety. This may mean reducing collisions through road design, like adding rumble strips to alert drivers who have departed their lane, or placing a roundabout at a key juncture to improve congestion and reduce severe injury crashes. It also means investing in Wisconsin's Highway Safety Improvement Program. Between 2015 and 2019, this program funded over $150 million in safety improvements throughout the state. It also means investing in rail crossing safety improvements. Quality of life and natural environment focuses on how to implement and manage a transportation system that balances transportation needs with the natural environment and resource conservation. WisDOT works with private and public partners, including the Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources, to protect resources. WisDOT has restored 5,800 acres of wetlands across the state over the past 3 decades, and WisDOT seeds 75 acres of land each year with native flora to benefit our state's most at-risk species. WisDOT also coordinates with other agencies and partners to develop a national network of alternative fuel and charging infrastructure corridors. All of Wisconsin's interstates and US 53 and US 51 are part of this network. System integration and connectivity means to bring modes of transportation together to provide a properly integrated system. WisDOT supports all modes of transportation across the state, including freight and passenger rail and transit systems. To ensure a well-integrated system, WisDOT also looks to improve efficiencies and connect different modes to increase economic vitality and make travel easier and more accessible for our residents. For example, Wisconsin's State Urban Mass Transit Operating Assistance Program provides operating cost assistance to support bus, shared ride, taxicab, and rail services in the state. Federal transit programs further support rural and urban transit systems and specialized transit services throughout our state. In addition, WisDOT, in coordination with Amtrak, created a new throughway bus service that provides 2 daily round-trip buses between Green Bay and Milwaukee with stops in Appleton, Oshkosh, and Fond du Lac, and connects with the Hiawatha passenger rail service in Milwaukee. Throughway buses, like train services, provide modern amenities such as Wi-Fi, reclining seats, and location tracking. System management means to utilize cost-effective preservation and maintenance techniques to maximize transportation investments. WisDOT promotes a well-maintained transportation network by targeting investments and maximizing available funding. For roadways and bridges, WisDOT uses an asset management approach to schedule and fund transportation projects to ensure the right project is constructed at the right place and at the right time. And through our MAPS Performance Improvement Program, we report our progress quarterly and summarize scorecards and improvement reports for each performance measure right on our website. These cost-effective measures promote a resilient system while also increasing safety and efficiency. Our communities and how we move around them are changing all the time. Understanding the key issues or trends that affect transportation is an essential component of the Connect 2050 plan that prepares us for what lies ahead. These 6 trend areas, population, travel patterns, safety, economic activity, energy and the environment, and automated and connected vehicles directly relate to the plan goals and will influence how WisDOT makes decisions about managing our statewide transportation system well into the future. More details about these trend areas can be found on the Connect 2050 website under the virtual open house. Next, we will explore the transportation system in Wisconsin, what it entails, and how WisDOT supports a statewide multimodal network. The transportation system is complex and includes many different modes and facilities, more than just roads. WisDOT plans, builds, maintains, or financially supports airports, ports, harbors, and a ferry, highway and bridges, bicycles and pedestrians, specialized transit, passenger rail, freight rail, transit, intercity passenger bus, and local roads, all of which make up Wisconsin's statewide network. Connect 2050 is the only plan that WisDOT produces that considers all modes for the entire state. Other plans, such as the State Rail Plan, State Airport System Plan, and many others, focus on a single mode and identify needs related to that specific mode. Connect 2050 is the glue that ensures all these other plans and documents work together to provide a system that meets our needs. Here are some interesting facts about our transportation system. WisDOT's transportation system has about 115,000 miles of state and local roads and almost 14,000 bridges. Commercial ports on Lake Michigan, Lake Superior, and the Mississippi River process over 27 million tons of goods annually, valued at over $3 billion. Freight is a major economic driver in the state, as 8 economic sectors reliant on the movement of freight make up 41% of the state gross domestic product. And in 2017, over 190 million tons of cargo was moved by freight rail alone, valued at $150 billion. The state highway system accounts for 10% of our roadway network, but carries almost 60% of all vehicle miles traveled in the state each year. But highways aren't the only way we cover ground. Amtrak's Hiawatha line between Milwaukee and Chicago transported over 875,000 people in 2019. This is the busiest passenger rail service in the Midwest and has continued to set new annual ridership records. By 2030, Wisconsin's 123 airports are projected to serve 15 million passengers and local businesses annually. For shorter local trips on the ground, the state's 81 transit systems completed 59 million trips in 2018. State travelers can also forge their own paths and choose their own pace. Almost 10% of passenger trips in 2017 were completed by walking or biking. So what's WisDOT's role in all of this? WisDOT supports all transportation modes that make up our transportation network in one or more of the following ways: planning, constructing, operating, maintaining, and funding. This leads us to where WisDOT is today, the planning process for the statewide multimodal transportation network. Connect 2050 is a policy-based plan that identifies what WisDOT would like to accomplish over the next 30 years. Other WisDOT efforts will identify how and when they will be accomplished through specific projects or improvements to our transportation system. Our long-range statewide transportation plan, Connect 2050, is being developed as we speak and will merge professional transportation knowledge with the insights of business leaders and everyday citizens. Connect 2050 will provide overall guidance to the mode-specific plans such as the State Rail Plan, the State Freight Plan, the State Bicycle Plan, and the State Airport Plan. WisDOT region plans address transportation by WisDOT's 5 regions and includes close coordination with our state's metropolitan planning organizations. Our operational plans direct how WisDOT will conduct certain activities, such as the Transportation Asset Management Plan. So why do we need your input in getting this plan off the ground? Participation from the public is important because all of us have different perspectives on transportation and what the future might be like. As a Wisconsin resident, participating in Connect 2050 is a chance to share those opinions to help guide the coordinated development of our transportation system at the state, regional, and local levels. We encourage you to visit our website, attend our virtual open house, and take our survey. You can also share a comment and subscribe for future email notifications. For individuals who are not able to use the online resources, we also have paper comment and survey forms that can be mailed to WisDOT. Thank you for watching and being a part of the Connect 2050 planning process.
Wonderful. So with that, we will be starting the question and answer portion of the webinar. Sean DeStramp will be reading questions that we receive through YouTube or via email. If you do not want to log into YouTube and would like to submit a comment, please do so via the email address. There may be a delay between the question and the answer due to the virtual nature of this meeting. So to kick us off, Sean?
Excuse me, Alex, could you
Yes.
stop sharing your screen?
Yes, I can, and then you can pick up.
Thank you.
Sure.
There we are. All right, well, to give people a few minutes here to enter their questions on the YouTube chat. There aren't any quite yet. We'll start with some of the questions we received via email. The first one is, so the question states, after the last webinar, was participation, was it higher or lower than expected?
So participation was about what we expected, actually, as far as the live participants, and there have been a lot of other views after that. So just one important thing to note with these webinars and these 3 this week is that they were really designed with stakeholders in mind. So our federal partners, our state partners, local partners, advocacy groups, people of that nature. While they are open to anyone, they were not advertised to the general public. So with that being said, they are all being recorded and posted on our YouTube channel so that anybody can go view them. And they can provide feedback to WisDOT through the comment form that will be open throughout the entire planning process or via email. The intent of offering 3 webinar times, recording them all and posting them online, was to allow those who may not be able to participate during the live meeting time the opportunity to view the webinar and provide feedback or ask questions on their own schedule. If you'd like to see all of the comments that WisDOT has received during the Connect 2050 planning process, there is a link on the Connect 2050 website and in the virtual open house to a comment dashboard, which allows you to read all of the comments that we've received to date statewide.
Thanks, Alex. I'll pose another question to the group. This one actually did come in via YouTube here. I'm wondering how much does WisDOT take into consideration the inaccessibility of a project to people with disabilities when prioritizing different projects.
Absolutely. So Chuck, do you want to take a stab at that one? You know more about the project prioritization process than I do, I believe.
So we have to consider impacts to as part of environmental justice process when we go through the process of identifying alternatives for a project. That's part of federal and state environmental requirements. And we need to consider impacts to all groups as part of that environmental process. I would have to defer that question to our Division of Transportation System Development, who is in charge of implementing the projects at the project level, but we will note that question and make sure we can identify a response for that or get the right people to answer that.
Absolutely. I think it would be important to note the Wisconsin Non-Driver Advisory Committee. It's called WinDAC. It was created in spring of 2020. So just an effort on WisDOT's behalf to how to facilitate mobility, safety, and access for non-driving populations. So I can't speak to project prioritization process, but committees like that and our stakeholders are critical to receiving feedback that eventually may inform project delivery and project selection. So there are committees and things of that nature that really do inform on a more specific nature.
Thanks, Alex. The next question we received via email is, how can the plan be helpful when so much will change between now and 2050?
Absolutely. So that's a great question. Connect 2050, the statewide long range plan, is the first step in getting us where we want to go. This is how we identify what the goal is and what the vision is for our transportation system looking out to 2050. So there are a lot of other opportunities throughout updates of modal plans, corridor studies, project meetings at the region level for folks to get involved. Connect 2050 is the beginning of shaping our transportation system, not the end. So we encourage everybody to share their opinions with us at any time, whether it's by taking our survey, attending a project meeting for a construction project in your neighborhood. But we don't know what will change between now and 2050, but we have to plan for it and plan for what we can.
Thanks. Now, next one, how often does WisDOT update the LRTP? And for those who might not know the acronyms, that's Long Range Transportation Plan, which is Connect 2050 in this case.
Correct. So there is no required update timeframe in federal regulation, but the federal regulations do state that the plan must be developed with a minimum of a 20-year planning horizon. So these plans are very time and labor intensive to update, being statewide and multimodal in nature. So they're generally not as updated as frequently as other plans, such as a rail plan or a freight plan that may be updated every 5 years. Since the last plan update in 2009, WisDOT has also developed a lot of other planning documents to support the goals that were in the previous plan, including the state rail plan, state freight plan, and the state transportation asset management plan. And there have been many others as well. More information on those planning efforts for anybody interested can be found on the bottom of the Connect 2050 website.
Great. How can WisDOT implement all of the policies in the long range plan?
Sure, that's another great question. So WisDOT's authority is not all encompassing. And while we work to implement the policies that will be in Connect 2050, we simply can't do it all. That's why partnerships and our stakeholders is such a critical part of the statewide planning and project delivery process. We, along with other state agencies, regional planning entities, and local governments, all have a role in developing and implementing our state's transportation network and accomplishing the goal and implementing the policies that are in Connect 2050.
Now, this one is a very topical question, and I'm sure it's on a lot of people's minds, but how has COVID-19 affected the Connect 2050 planning process?
It's a great question. I'm sure it is on everybody's mind. So as far as the Connect 2050 process, it's really eliminated our ability to hold in-person public involvement events during this current phase of outreach. And so normally, typically, we have gone out around the state and gone to meetings and events, and we can't do that, obviously. So in response, we've really been leaning heavily on technology, our social media platforms, and our stakeholders to make sure our message gets out, and we're providing opportunities for the public and our stakeholders to give us feedback. To date, we've had almost 1,550 survey responses and also over 1,500 comments sent to us, and a lot of engagement via social media platforms. So we're also trying to provide ways for those that do not have access to technology or choose not to use it, ways to provide feedback, such as paper survey and comment forms that can be mailed out. So we're doing the best we can, basically, with the limitations that COVID has placed on all of us.
Well, thank you. And I'm sorry, panel, but I don't have any juicy questions for you. There's none left coming in through YouTube, and as best I understand, I'm coming in through email either. So maybe in a way to give people a little bit of time in the delay here, maybe we can have our concluding words.
Sure, absolutely. So I would just like to thank you all for participating in today's webinar. As stated before, we encourage you to visit our website, attend our virtual open house, take our survey, and share this information with your members, constituents, and interested parties. We also have a stakeholder toolkit that is available on our website for your use. The toolkit materials can be distributed or presented to your board, committees, interested members of the public, really anybody. Your organization can help us inform others by posting materials on social media as well. The toolkit includes links to our comment form, as well as paper versions of the survey that can be mailed to those or mailed to WisDOT for those who may not have access to or be comfortable using the web-based comment form or survey platform. Formal letters, meeting notes, minutes can also be sent directly to connect2050@dot.wi.gov. And just like to thank everybody again for participating in the Connect 2050 planning process and participating in this webinar this evening.